Another thing you'll see, and this is really common, if you have a variable that needs to be initialized to empty every time, we've got a little function that we're going to initialize, an empty variable, and every time we're going to append a star. So as we run this function, every time it should start with the empty variable, append the star to it, and then print it. So every time it should just print one time, but get a little unexpected action here. Every time we run that, it doesn't initialize the variable to a empty, it initializes it to what existed in it the last time it was run. And to fix that error, what we need to do is change the initialization of the empty variable using the word copy. It's very important. You'll see it happen all the time when you're coding. If you're not aware of it, using that copy is what creates an empty variable. So anytime you need to create an empty variable that's reused, make sure you use the copy function, and that will get rid of that error. That can be a bug that gets easily passed. Another set of errors that's really common is one that has to do with loading and saving or reading and writing data. Load and save are functions that are used to deal with REBOL formatted data. Blocks, any blocks that have been created that you want to save to disk should be saved using the save function. Images, for example, can be created using the save function. And the converse of save is load. If you want to load data in a way that's automatically understood and put to use by REBOL, for example, if you want to load an image, you should use the load function. If you want to use a block of REBOL data, something that's saved as a series or a block, you want to use the load function. Read and write are converses that are used basically for saving data in its bare way. For example, if you want to read a binary file from a website and write it to the hard drive, you would use write and read. If you want to save an exact sequence of characters without any, for example, block notation, you would use the write and read. Those are basically for saving exact bits of text and binary data to a hard drive. Save and load are used for loading and dealing with data in a way that REBOL already understands and puts to use in an appropriately formatted way. The links to the dictionary for each of those terms are here, and those help clear up how you use load, save, and read and write to save and read in data. Another common error is using mold and reform and other functions that deal with text, manipulate text and store and move around text. This little article in the REBOL cookbook, number 15, helps to clear up some of the questions about how those functions are used. And finally, the order of precedence in REBOL is always left to right. In other languages, mathematical context is usually used. For example, multiplication in a line is always done first, and then the addition is done. Division is done, for example, before subtraction. In REBOL, though, everything's done left to right. So REBOL would interpret this as 2 plus 4, which is 6, times 6, which is 36. In other languages, it would be interpreted as 4 times 6, which is 24, plus 2, which is 26. If you want to make that work in any given way, all you have to do is put parentheses around the things you want done first, and REBOL will interpret the stuff in parentheses first. So keep that in mind. Every single thing in REBOL, every expression is always done left to right. In this function, REBOL is going to save this text, which is saved to this text file, whatever's read from this URL, and then it's going to print whatever is sorted from this read text. REBOL will always look, if it sees a function, it will look for the arguments it needs next. So save will take these two arguments. The next argument is something that's read from here. So if it comes to this, that needs an argument, and it reads the data from here. So it always just goes from left to right. Then it prints what is sorted from this read text. And this is a way that you may write that to make it make a little more sense. So always just left to right. Keep that in mind. To trap errors, you can use the if error try routine. For example, if we tried to run this, and for example, if your web connection was down, you would get an error and the program would crash abruptly. If you want to avoid those kinds of errors, you can wrap what you want to have done inside a block. Put this if error try in front of it. It will try that, and if there's an error, you can put in whatever you want the program to do. Another way of doing that is to use the attempt function. The attempt is basically the inverse of if error try, and you can put the stuff you want done inside a block. You can attempt it, and it will, if the function works inside there, if that block works, then it goes on. If it doesn't work, then you can do what you want. They're basically inverses of each other. If error try evaluates true if the block produces an error, an attempt evaluates to false if the block produces an error. There's more about Rebel codes here. This explains all the different possible errors you can see. The ones in that above list will cover most situations.